technical session today is going to be about students' mental health during pandemic caused by COVID-19. And we have 4 wonderful papers with us that's going to be presented. And the presenters will be given 8 minutes to present their work, followed by 2 minutes of question and answer. And just ensure that I will be very strict about the timings so that all the speakers get a chance to present their work without any glitches. And after the presentation is done, I will be asking the honorable chairs for their comments and feedback, after which the session will be open for question and answers on that particular presentation. So with that, I would like to call upon the virtual podium our first participant, Chandrasekharan Praveen.
Good evening, everyone. Respected chair, participants of the conference. At the outset, I would like to thank our organizers for giving me an opportunity to present this paper. Well, the title of my paper is COVID-19 Compelled RASE Model Curriculum Transaction for Teacher Education. Why compelled? During the COVID outbreak, we all switched to online teaching and learning. So the teacher educators were on the lookout for a model for following, and I made use of the RASE model. Okay. I'll tell you briefly about the background of the study, the objectives of the study, the methodology, about the RASE model, the challenges for the teacher, the learner, and the strategy for teacher education. I'll tell you something about the limitations and the lessons I've learned from Hindsight. I begin with a disclaimer. See, I have identified 9 challenges for the teacher, 13 for the learner, and the solutions 18. There are 16 references, but I've been given only 8 minutes. So I'll mention only the major aspects. Now, this is the background. COVID-19, as I said earlier, the colleges were closed. I was teaching the BA third semester students during July, October. It was teaching practice time, but it was pending. Now, I conducted a survey with the institutions, the teachers, the learners, identified the need. What happened because of the shift from face-to-face learning to online, and about the resources, the resource crunch that happened, and the restriction and movement, and about internet connectivity and how the email was the only medium they could choose. Some made use of smartphones, some had 3G and so on. The investigator, I'm also a teacher educator. I had 13 BA trainees. They were my sample. The problem, online class only, because we were not allowed to come to the campus. So how to teach? What's the nature of my problem? Now, in schools and colleges, usually there is information transfer. We have oral and written testing. You make maybe formative and summative evaluation. But what happens in a teacher training college is that it's not just information transfer. There is also skill training. Some kind of a performance-based testing is also followed. So the objective was to identify an appropriate strategy for online teaching. Okay. Now, the methodology, I made use of the RASE model. RASE stands for resources, activity, support, and evaluation. Now, Churchill and King found this model of the University of New South Wales as a practical evidence-based design model to improve learning outcome. So that is why I used it. Briefly, it tells you what these 4 are. As you can see, resources include not just textbook, but articles, slides, web content, and so on. You can think of activities like collaborative tasks, problem-solving tasks, and so on. And the kind of support you see, it could be through email, through chat, and using synchronous tools, using forums, and of course the evaluation, which is quite essential, using portfolios, online presentations. Okay, now what is the main challenge? I had to identify ICT-based tools for teaching by the teacher educator and the demonstration of learning by the trainee, and all this through ICT tools. Like earlier, we used to do it face to face. Now, what about the resources? Uh, I made use of synchronous learning strategy. Content were given in small chunks, made use of infographics, short audio clips, video clips. Then also asynchronous learning. Notes were supplied through email. There was a specially created blog of the Kerala University English Teacher Educators Forum, that is KUETEF. Resources were provided there. So as you can see in the synchronous learning at the bottom left, you see an infographics about the topic assessment which was being taught. And everything was happening using WhatsApp. Remember, it was the only tool available then. And because they had to discuss, and because the bandwidth was very limited, through email, videos were sent earlier before the class. So it was discussion, and the teacher educator talks, because you can see small chunks. And after four or five small chunks, inquires whether I can proceed or not, whether they're followed or not. Okay. What was asynchronous mode? Emails were sent, as I said earlier, notes were sent. And I made use of that blog. This is the screenshot of the blog, the Kerala University English Teacher Educators Forum blog. And of course, because they were learning to teach at the secondary level, the learning outcomes prepared by the NCRT was forwarded to them. Okay. For activities like the small video-based tasks, and regular question answer sessions after the small chunks to ensure that they are grasping what they're learning. And so teacher talk is always typed 4 or 5 lines at the most. And then if it's a major point, there'll be a red flag so that they realize, okay, it's an important point. And audio clip maximum 30 seconds at a time, because that was going to be most appropriate. This is an assignment to be given for a weekend task. I gave them the screenshot of children in an African country. So you see the classroom was flooded. And imagine, I asked the students, suppose you are going to teach, how are you going to help them out? How are you going to teach? This is a condition. See, the classroom is flooded. They're sitting on the floor, and even the classroom is flooded. So for the major points, as you can see, this is a major point. Questions are powerful stimuli that evoke cognitive, behavioral, and emotional responses in students. So it's a major point, so a red flag is good, so the students know that it's an important point. Remember, learning is happening through WhatsApp. And for support, as I said, 12 to 15 minutes after the teaching, I'll pause and check understanding, and only then I'll proceed. There's no point in continuously teaching for 1 hour and then asking, did you follow? No, because attention is likely to falter. Clarifications, checking understanding, only simple tasks, and immediate feedback. And I every day after the class, I ask one of the students to summarize, and then I check whether the summary is right or wrong, because everyone sees it. And then if it's not, immediately the feedback is given. And because we are connected on WhatsApp, it's 24/7 connectivity with them. Okay, see here again another major point. And whenever they give a response, see, I post the pictures of fruits, so they feel, okay, I've been my response is appreciated by the teacher. Okay, so what are the limitations of my study? It's a small sample. It took less than 4 months, Unfortunately, teaching practice was not considered. That is also an important aspect of that particular semester, major component to be assessed. But what are my hindsight? It's the small audio post, helped in revision. And the synchronous code and the 24-hour connectivity was a great help for the learners. It positively impacted learning. Another thing is the internet issues was a problem, of course. So downloading was not easy for all students. It did affect participation also. And then the breaking down into small chunks, it took a lot of time. It's more than the actual time I take for teaching, sometimes double the time, because everything had to be redesigned for this particular medium, the online medium. So these are select references. Okay. So that's all. Thank you. If you have any questions, I will be glad to answer.
Thank you very much, sir. I didn't know it would be like I was so engrossed that I didn't know that it would be end so soon. Good things end really fast. So thank you very much for presenting this paper. And now I would request our Honorable External Chair, Shormishta ma'am, to give her valuable insights on this.
And to Dr. Praveen, so this was a very insightful paper, definitely based on his own experience.
Thank you,
and based on definitely your screen which you shared showed that you have worked on this hands-on. So that was very impressive. And this is very interesting. Dr. Praveen, could you please, elaborate a little as to, what was this performance-based testing, that you were talking about, and how the shift came about? What was it that you were harping on? Could you please elaborate?
Basically, language trainees. And as a teacher of English, I teach them how to teach prose, how to teach poetry, and how to teach grammar, how to teach vocabulary, and so on. A single item that you teach, there are several ways of teaching. And one person may approach it maybe using multimedia, another person may be making use of charts, another person may be making use of anecdotes. But then it's only if you perform, and then the peers also evaluated and along with the teacher educator. That is why practice teaching is considered to be the most important component of the teacher training program. In fact, it varies more than 50% of the marks are awarded for the peer program. So I had to focus on performance-based pedagogy.
Thank you so much. Over to Dr. Sengupta. I'm done with. It was a pleasure listening to this.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was a wonderful exchange indeed. Now I would request Indranil sir to give his inputs.
It was Dr. Praveen, it was a very nice way of presenting, and I was really amazed about the fact that you had used WhatsApp in a very innovative way for feedback and for teaching and for giving the information. We never thought that we could use WhatsApp in a teaching methodology. We can pass information, we can pass different types of information, notices can be done. We do use WhatsApp in a students group, but a way of teaching, and it's a new liking from my side, because this is something which I have never thought of, that we can use WhatsApp in this kind of a way, where we can have teaching done through WhatsApp. Thank you for this wonderful way.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Now this session is open for questions, so if any of you have any questions to ask sir, please go ahead. Sir, I do have a question. It's more of a broader thing of curiosity. Is that, so what is the way forward? Because now, as in during the pandemic times, we have to suddenly, there's a demand of becoming technologically adept and far more creative than we were in our teaching initially to get across to our students. So, sir, do you think there are changes that are here to stay in learning for long term, and it took us a pandemic to realize how to make things more accessible?
Well, I would like to differ, because in 2015, when the Kerala University revised their curriculum, they introduced techno-pedagogy, content knowledge analysis as part of the BEd curriculum. And all the teachers were specially trained to make use of technological tools for transaction. But only now, because when COVID struck, they realized that this is the only way forward. So instruction is going to happen. So they were half prepared, but the practice started immediately when COVID struck.
Sir, I totally agree with you on this one, and I didn't know, but it's a wonderful thing that techno-pedagogy has become a thing, because I think that's the need of the hour. So I agree with you completely on that. So thank you very much, everyone, for this wonderful exchange.